The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hello, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And I don't know, we had gremlins talking over the disclaimer. So
oh, yeah, it was
all of you who remember, all our opinions have nothing to do with this station or the college. So okay.
Oh God, it's a day. It's the day from hell, and I think it's because of the information we got today. Look, I want to start out with a Providence. Well, it came from NPR in regards to the reassignment of Catherine Gregg from the State House by the Providence Journal. They took her all out of the State House and they placed her at the news desk in Providence. I guess that's on Fountain Street. Now, Catherine Gregg has been, to quote NPR, a tenacious watchdog, but she has. She doesn't let anything get in her way. And she's been reporting on it regularly. Now, the Providence Journal is now owned by Gatehouse Media. Gatehouse Media also owns a certain local media newspaper called the Fall River Herald News, and also the New Bedford Standard Times. Now, we know that the Fall River Herald News really doesn't cover a lot of the information, I don't want to say accurately, but concisely in regards to the information that they're providing to the people, unlike a certain news show that we happen to be on right now, Spindle City Straight Talk, that gives you everything. And I'm wondering if Miss Gregg overstepped some boundaries that Gatehouse set up to keep everybody happy and started reporting on things that they didn't want people to know about, because that's her style. But let me tell you something. This is why local media is getting such a bad rap, because the people that are presenting the information get moved or terminated because they don't want you to know. Well, guess what? We make sure you know. So,
yeah, well, big money manages to buy out anything that interferes with their propaganda. And it's funny. I'm reading this article, and at the end of it, it was a Mr. H. Phillips West Jr. writes in his History of Rhode Island Politics, Secrets and Scandals. He talked about Gregg writing, quote, "secret set for life, special deals," unquote. Wow. A series of 12 blockbuster stories that ran in succession. So she blew the whistle on a lot of people, a lot of sweetheart deals, just as, we do, and you don't see a lot of coverage and a lot of follow-up on these sweetheart deals. We always talk about when they slide from the State House to a job, in a state college, or when they slide from a state office to the housing authority, and the other sweetheart deals, and we look at the moving of the chess pieces, which result in the people who tax you to death and have no consideration and try to tax your mileage, and yet they're exempt and they're getting per diems, and because they drive more than 25 miles or something. It's absurd. But this is the problem. This is why we've got to band together, stay informed, and do our research. And the thing is, it's too bad.
Yeah, it is.
It's too bad that somebody like this, who basically played no favorites, she called them like she saw them, and of course now a major company that we all know that the major media is run by, all the big wheels, the Rupert Murdochs of the world.
Yep.
And so if you try to tickle the status quo, you get banished at best.
Yeah, I'm not going to go too much into the Mark Dion column, the false hope of the political outsider. He basically closed it and said, hey, come to Fall River. We'll teach you how to do this. And he's right. It's just unbelievable. But, yesterday, a lot of information came out all of a sudden, and I find it rather amusing. I haven't been able to confirm with second and third confirmations. So right now, a lot of this is rumor and allegation, but it's been alleged that Cathy Ann Viveiros is lobbying the Housing Authority Board for a position there because they're going to sever her from city administrator role. And that severance is going to create a position in city administration, which is allegedly, again, another rumor, that they're looking at vetting out Mike Miozza for that. Now, I'm not sure how accurate that may be or not because he is a charter commissioner. And if that is the case, is he going to step down as a charter commissioner? Because now he would be serving, at the will and pleasure of the mayor and that situation.
Or as somebody once so eloquently put it, he'll be serving two masters.
Exactly.
The people of Fall River and the Charter Review and the mayor.
And personally, I don't think you can do that.
No,
but then
nor do
we have that Ken Pacheco, in his new position on Building and Grounds, is leaving. He's going to the school department. So he's going to leave the municipal side so that we can have another hack hired for that job. Oh, and where do I get the fact that it's a hack? How about Mr. Ponceano's employment record? All of it. The actual employee file that I received is over 60 pages long. 60 pages. All right? And I think it's funny because, I'm going to start with his application. Ponceano, Andriano, Jose, they blocked out all of his personal, social security number, and that's good. That's okay. At the time that he applied to the city of Pawtucket, he only had a high school diploma, and he had 4 months into a certificate from the broadcasting school. I believe that was the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Okay? He had 2 jobs listed on his application as a counselor, Consulor. Obviously, he didn't graduate with a spelling thing.
I guess they didn't teach him how to spell in broadcasting. They had a copywriter, I guess. So he did the copy.
And then he was a manager, and I'd love to find out what this company is. And he says that he had not left; it just opened a few months ago. And the funny
all
thing
those
is,
things are redacted,
right?
So,
And the jobs themselves are redacted. Now,
why are the colleges? I mean, I don't think that. I mean, maybe in my opinion, I don't believe if in your job application you're saying that you went to a college and you got a certificate of 4 months in a college in broadcasting. I don't know how that qualifies you for the top position in an administrative position in a DCM. But who knows? This is the brave new world.
Right. Well, here's the thing.
But I don't believe that I can see people's personal addresses and phone numbers,
right,
and maybe these things of the references that are redacted. I don't want to know where they live. I don't care where they live.
Exactly.
But when somebody says, it's like when you apply for a job and they say you're a veteran, they ask you to produce a DD-214 or a discharge. There's no reason to redact that. I mean, if you want to say, okay, you're honorably discharged, I mean, you should be proud of that.
Exactly.
So, I mean, if you go to a college, how can they check? They don't want anybody to know what college he went to. Why? Because we might actually look to see if he did graduate.
Yeah, well, we had a political candidate running for mayor that had that happen to him.
Exactly.
But
and we also had an assistant superintendent of schools
that's right,
that didn't have a college degree.
And the thing is, this application was filed in November of 1998. The employment that he desired was anything, as soon as possible. So let's go on. He was finally hired on April 19th, 1999. That's a good chunk of change later. That's about 6 months. And he was hired, are you ready? Now, people get shocked. He was hired temporarily as a trash man. Sewer and refuse laborer, recycling. So he must have been driving around Pawtucket picking up the recycle bins. Remember our old square ones that lied low to the ground that had all the recycling? That's what he did for $22,000. Now, just about a month later, they moved him from temporary recycling trash collector to seasonal labor again, temporary, as beautification. Maybe that was a glorified street sweeper. That was an hourly pay, and believe it or not, he took a $6,000 a year job decrease in salary to keep that job.
Well, maybe he was going to lose the temporary job, and
Exactly.
some jobs better than no job, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then in August of the same year, he transferred again back to sewer and refuse labor recycling for the $22,000 he was making before, and it's still a temporary employee. Then we go in September, again, just about a month later, he went from sewer and refuse laborer recycling to laborer 2 streets and bridges. And he took a $300 a year pay cut for that. And then in October, again, seems like he can't stay anywhere for more than a month. He went from laborer 2 to laborer 2 streets and bridges again. And this time he went to the same salary, it looks like. Yep, $22,330. So he obviously moved from one position to another. Then in December, a month later, 3 months later, he went from Labor 2 Streets and Bridges to Labor Supervisor 1 Sewer Maintenance Sanitation. Okay, is that trash collection again, or is this now taking care of the sludge? And he got a $2,000 a year, well, $1,000 and change, $1,900 a year pay raise. And that's when he became a union member, AFSCME.
AFSCME, yep.
Okay.
And that to me, when I look, that would basically, I would have to check. That's not a really major union position, because if you're a department head, you can't be in the union.
Right. So
I mean, let's make that very clear to people when it says, that supervisor level 1. He could have been like in charge of the truck that he was driving on.
Yeah.
Because if it's the only unions that I know that you can hold a major position, and even that, if you're the department head, fire department, fire and police, you can stay in the union until you make chief of the department.
Right.
But all other unions, normally, when you get in any upper echelon, as actually the police deputy chiefs are not in the union, but that's by their own, they withdrew.
Well, and here's the kicker.
So-
2 months later, he left that position and went over to be a laborer again. Okay?
But remember one thing.
For
Look at
$2,000
we got to look
less.
at that. But that's when he went from temporary to regular.
Right.
So he went from a temporary to a position where he actually was going to not be bounced around in a temporary position.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
He still got bounced around because...
He got bounced around, but he was permanent. It's harder to get rid of him now.
So 5 months later, he leaves there and he goes over to engineering aid 2.
Aid.
And he got a $500 a year bump in his pay.
Aid.
Okay.
What does an engineering aid do? Bring
I
the
don't know.
pencils to the engineer?
And then in June 21st, 2004, so that's a pretty long position he stayed in, he moved from engineering aid to water meter reader.
Well,
And he got a $3,000 bump in pay.
that just goes to show how important that engineering aid is, because when
Right.
you see the word engineering, you say, wow, that's got to be a pretty, complicated position. If you got a $3,000 raise to read water meters, that position didn't entail a lot of responsibility.
Exactly.
So,
And then,
oh God.
this was, yeah, you have to laugh at some of these. 3 months later, he goes from water meter reader to ice rink attendant. Not even an ice rink manager. He went to ice rink attendant, and he took a $3,000 a year pay cut for that job. Okay? That was in September. Now, we move on to October, and he moves from ice rink attendant to cyclinator operator.
Oh, that sounds impressive.
Yeah, streets and bridges, and he got a $4,000 bump in pay then. So we move on again from October to September 2007, which means he stayed as a cyclinator for just about a year, 11 months. He went to water utility worker, and he got himself the same pay. So, I mean, does that mean he was digging ditches to lay pipes? I mean, I don't know. Then he goes from water utility worker back to cyclinator.
Yeah, well.
For the same pay. Okay, let's keep moving along. And on Halloween, boy, talk about a day. Halloween 2008, he goes from cyclinator to weekend watch ice control for $2,000, $2,000 a year less. And I think that job, he may sit at a computer and watch the road sensors to show if there's ice anywhere or something along that line.
And they actually have that job in the summer, on summer weekends, weekend watch ice control, and somebody actually gets.
Well, no,
boy,
this was,
I thought we had some really, that's like watching for Napoleon's invasion fleet in 1950, in England.
Right.
But $31,000 for being a weekend watch ice control guy, and. I don't think we got a serious problem with icing in the summer.
But he's got a $2,000 pay cut there.
Yeah. So.
Then we move on to what looks like July 30th, 2012. He goes from weekend watch ice control to labor supervisor 1 in parks. He got a $1,000 a year bump in pay for that. Then in August, not even an entire month, it was August 27th, he went from labor supervisor 1 to supervisor of an inventory in equipment maintenance in the garage. He was a parts clerk. He was a parts clerk.
That's not bad, though.
And he got a $2,000 a year bump for that position.
36 grand for checking parts.
To make sure they got an oil filter. Okay, so we move on from August 27, 2012 to January 19th, 2016. He goes from inventory control to operations technician for a $2,000 a year bump in the public works office. So that was in January 2016. And then in July 2016, July 8th, he resigned. Now, I found out that the term technician in the city of Pawtucket, or as I like to refer to them, the city of Patoilet, is sometimes used to refer to secretaries and clerks.
Well, you know what I see here? I see a guy that just got an $80,000 a year department head job.
Twice his previous salary.
In a department that requires an engineering degree, and he has a 4-month certificate in broadcasting. That's his higher education.
And he has a baccalaureate in art.
Well, that's not on this.
No, because this application goes back to November of 1999.
And baccalaureate in art. I guess he could paint the bridge. He could determine if it's working. And the largest salary he ever made was $41,000 a year.
Right.
$41,016.98, and that was only the last couple of years. Before, he was averaging probably about $25,000 a year.
Right.
So you know what the moral of that story is? If you know somebody, come to Fall River.
Exactly.
Because we don't care what the qualifications for the job say. If you're in, or you know somebody, or you're related to somebody, we'll get you a job, and we'll double your salary.
That's right.
Even though you have absolutely no qualifications at all. And guess what? We are not bringing the best and the brightest from Rhode Island, and I question why we need to get... Look, with this guy's... We can't find somebody in Fall River that was making 40 grand that wants to make 80 and has no qualifications for the job. I mean, they'd be lining up at the door. I'll bet you if we posted that job today, we'd have about 500 applicants by the weekend.
Oh, yeah. But, the thing that scares me most about all of this is that when the city provided the documents from them, they redacted the resume and then wrote in by hand false information. Because, and we have the email from Joe Macy that says, well, he registered, but he never attended. So we redacted it to reflect it accurately.
Isn't he supposed to accurately submit a resume?
Right.
Isn't that falsifying a resume and reason for not being hired?
Yes.
I mean, if you write something on your resume and go, oh, by the way, yeah, I went to Notre Dame, but I never went. I applied to their continuing ed online school and never took a course.
Right.
And I didn't get any degree, but I'm going to write it down because Notre Dame sounds impressive. The whole thing is just, this is government again. Government taking care of the people they know, government screwing the taxpayer. You're going to pay this guy 80 grand. As I said out of the get-go, I'm not happy with splitting a department that was running before. We should be looking for doing more with less
Yep.
on the supervisory levels and putting more people to work at the service level for the people of Fall River. But no, this is really.
And here's the lesson, okay? And here's the lesson. And I have this for the two. Mr. Mayor, before you hire somebody, do what we did. Do your due diligence. But maybe you just don't want to do that. Maybe it's your job to hire your hacks, your friends, people you owe money to. It seems to me that your pledge of transparency throughout your campaign was a line of bull. Okay? And let me tell you something. I can see more clearly from the running diarrhea that comes out of my dog's backside than I can see through the line of bull you serve the people of Fall River. And I hope that your battleship fundraiser tonight generates everything you want, because believe me, we're watching everything. The people of Fall River will no longer be left blind to the elected monarchy that thinks they can do what they want, when they want, and how they want. We will no longer tolerate this. This job had specific requirements. When Mr. Oakford applied for the job, you terminated that contract. When you hired this gentleman, you said very clearly, he has a collective bargaining background. Nowhere did we find any collective bargaining background whatsoever. And I can already see Chip's ears coming out with steam. Okay? Just because you sat there and said, oh, look, I'm going to vote for the contract, doesn't mean you have a collective bargaining background. He has no background in supervisory. He has no background in managing a DPW or a DCM for a city this size. He has no background in any of this, and you hired him. You once again have hired an inexperienced, unqualified hack. And then you go to the city council and you try to get these hacks pay raises after 6 months.
Yeah. Well,
we know what you're doing now, Mr. Mayor. When I made these documents public, because I received them shortly after our show on Monday, I immediately put them up online. They have been downloaded so many times, it's making me sick. Okay? The people are fed up with this. You can't seem to do your job right. Maybe
he's doing it right for the wrong people, not the people.
Maybe you should turn around and consider the fact that already people are demanding a recall. And I don't believe in recalls. Okay? I think that that's the last-ditch effort of the people. But you're making it their last-ditch effort. You have done, in 7 months, 8 months, what took Will Flanagan 3 years to do. You're turning off the people.
5 years.
No, it took us 5 years to get rid of them. For 3 years, people haven't saw it. And if you think that at the end of this cycle, you're going to turn around, and I'm going to give the Will Flanagan speech, I made some mistakes, but give me another chance. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. The people are fed up.
Not only should this individual not be hired for this job, but anybody who was involved in his hiring and vetting his resume and and gave his interview should be terminated.
The man's qualified as a real estate agent.
You know, I
That's
mean,
it.
it's obvious. Look, I mean, obviously, you can't prove it, but anybody that's been in this game and been around for a while, you look at this guy's employment, and he got a $22,000, $21,000 job out of the get-go, and then he bounced from one job to another for years and always stayed employed. Looks like somebody who was, you know, we all know somebody on the city council who got their cousin or their brother or somebody a low-end job. He bounced around at low-end jobs, and then he stayed there long enough to get a job that paid a little bit better. And then he found the pot of gold. The leprechaun with the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow saw him, and he had this big "Welcome to Fall River" sign right behind him, just like our housing authority. Come, we will give you. And so obviously, I think if we check this guy's lineage, we're going to find out that he knows somebody, is related to somebody, or is the friend of somebody who gave a lot of money or is friendly with. And, you know, I think, you know, even though it's not right, I think a lot of people can tolerate, you know, low-end jobs being given out, you know, a little bit. Because, hey, you know, that's part of the game. Even though it's not right, I'm not condoning it. But every once in a while when somebody's cousin gets a job picking up trash or something like that for a 22 grand or 25 grand, you say, well, you know, it's not right, but you know, it's the bottom end job. It's kind of like you get your cousin a job as a dishwasher. You don't get him a job as a CEO of a company. You don't stick him in there at an $80,000 a year job that he has absolutely no qualifications for. I mean, these are his employment applications. Did he have another job as the CEO of Google or something while we weren't watching and he didn't bother to put it in? Does the city know something we don't know? If they do, please let us know. Because if you look at this, at the top, this says the City of Pawtucket Personnel Division. That's where these records came from. So, you know, again, when does this insanity stop? In all the years we've dealt, we've never seen anybody like this. I mean, at least they had somebody with a modicum of qualifications for the job. And I'm looking at this. 4 months at a nobody knows if obviously it was a community college. It's a certificate in broadcasting communications. Now, somebody told me I'm not going to hire a guy to run the Department of Community Maintenance that's got a degree in broadcasting. I might hire him to replace Faust because he's dealing with broadcasting and communications. I mean, then there'll be competition for those jobs. But that's his education. I don't see. And he was a counselor. It'd be nice if you actually spelled it right. But I don't think, you know, with all respect to Mr. Ponceano, I don't think he wrote that.
No.
Because that was a correction after they redacted. So he may have spelled counselor right in his application. But whoever did this, and I hope it wasn't the judge, because come on, you know, you should know how to spell counselor.
Well,
again,
the thing is
if after this show you can't get angry and stay angry, I don't know what more we can do.
Exactly.
So have a good day.
We'll see you Friday.